with the current affairs and state of the world, do you think that we need philosophy more than ever?
It's no coincidence that you can get Nazi Germany in 1945. Less than 100 years later, you got something like Israel and Palestine.
Some people, as soon as you're born, that's it for you. You're going to turn to quick money, which is gangs, which is fraud, which is drugs. I believe Bonnie Blue can do whatever she chooses.
Do you think 12-year-olds should know about Bonnie Blue and what she gets up to?
Absolutely not.
Will people in heaven know that people are suffering in hell?
Heaven is a small place.
Greta Thunberg is a great example of action.
Yes.
That girl needs to be protected at all costs.
All right, guys, welcome to TRP, the Revolutionary Pod. I think it's like episode 12 now, 13. We have Eden on again.
I'm back.
And we have a special guest, Riyad.
Hello, everyone.
So yeah, you can introduce yourselves or like say whatever you want, you know what I mean?
Do you want to start?
Okay. Hello, my name is Riyad Hasib. I'm your, I guess, philosopher guy on TikTok. I do videos surrounding philosophy, history, artwork, just a general synthesis of ideas. I like to share ideas also. But yeah, thank you for bringing me on. I appreciate that.
It's a pleasure, man. Obviously, you guys know Eden. We've got a couple nice clips and we did a long podcast. But yeah, if you have anything to say.
Yeah, to be honest, I didn't really have much to say other than what I already said in the last episode. But I guess I'll introduce myself again. My name is Eden and I'm the podcast host of the Things You Can't Touch podcast, which is a philosophy podcast aiming to diversify the face of philosophy.
Yeah, so all the links will be in the description so you guys can check them out. But yeah, so today we just have, we're just going to discuss everything from like socio-political events to like just general philosophy, like how much we need philosophy now, like with the rise of these events. So, I can ask you a question and you guys can just like say whatever you want about it, you know what I mean? So
I would argue that the reason why we're in this event is because we neglected philosophy in the first place.
Yep.
Morals, principles are the foundation of everything. And, the rise of postmodernism, the attack on truth, the refusal of an umbrella that we can all stay underneath has left everything cold. It's no coincidence that you can get Nazi Germany in 1945 and then less than 100 years later, you got something like Israel and Palestine. It's not about... It's not a
coincidence at all.
It's not a coincidence. And it's just because principles have been hijacked by, let's say, policy. When we think of principles, we think of policy now, instead of principles in action.
Yeah. What do you think?
I think philosophy is always important. And I think in my head, I'm just trying to draw the line between whether we need it more than ever, we need it the exact same as we've always needed it before.
Yeah.
But I'm going to say more than ever just for the sake of like having like a statement out there. I think we definitely need philosophy more than ever because it's, as Riyad said, the foundation of everything. And the lack of a foundation is what is causing so many rocky movements that we've seen. And I think what it is exactly, as you said, the rise of postmodernism and the rise of like an adverse attitude towards truth. A lot of people are conflating the line between opinion and truth, and I think that is very problematic. Sometimes we just need to accept the fact that things in this life are objective. We don't care about your opinion. That's what a lot of people are failing to understand. Your opinion actually does not matter here, especially when it comes to politics. Things are the way that they are, and you need to just accept that and look at the objective truths that are in the situation. A lot of people keep bringing in subjectivity, and I think that the reason for that is actually, I don't know how to explain it. I think it's a very, it's a very elite mindset, and it's a very privileged position to take, to have so many opinions on things, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, 100%. I even had that as literally a question. It's like, is there really objective truth? Like, is that like saying like, Hitler, maybe he had his own subjective truth and we just have to consider his subjective viewpoint as well. Like, no, maybe we don't have to consider his subjective viewpoint, you know what I mean? Maybe like subjectivity and objectivity, maybe it's just, no, maybe there is, a truth, you know what I mean? And some people are like perverting it and changing it.
Yeah.
So,
them themes are really well covered in The Republic by Plato. In the book 1, we have a character called Thrasymachus and Socrates, and they're having a discussion about what justice is in society. And Socrates asks Thrasymachus, what to you is justice? And he says, justice is where the strong are. So if we're going to relate that to Nazi Germany and what you're saying, Hitler's right because he's the one who's strong. Power gets to dictate what justice is. But Socrates argues that no, justice is something objective. Justice is about knowing what's good for society, and where you do that is through self-reflection and knowing what's best and what's most pleasurable. And power can't be decided. Justice can't be decided by those who are in power.
If anything, it might even be the opposite. Like even Jesus Christ, like he was the complete opposite of like powerful physics. He was nailed to a cross.
Opposite.
Like,
yeah, absolutely.
and he is, the figure of justice, the figure of, what I mean, like. So if anything, it's the opposite, like this. But that strong, the powerful, the strong idea, that's really Nietzschean, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Power.
That's why some reactionaries do like Nietzsche a lot.
Yeah, Nietzsche. I used to have a very strong affiliation with Nietzsche, but then I started to read Immanuel Kant and Hegel, and I started to really see where Nietzsche really stems his ideas from. And when you go back to earlier about subjectivity and objectivity, that shift, how do we go from objective truths? Because society for a long time was based on, let's say, religious truths or mathematical truths. And now it's my opinion, I should have it. Because Immanuel Kant shifted us towards there, because he's saying a priori truth. So we make the world based on our structures of mind. We impose space, time, and causality. So if that's the case, we create the world through our brain structures. That means there's no such thing as a real world. It's just based on what the brain gives. So for example, we can't hear all the sounds in this room. We can't see all the heat and the radiation or what's going around the room. That means there's a certain element of the world that's inaccessible to us. That means the human only experiences the world based on human functions. If you take, for example, a dog or a viper, they experience the world differently to us. So that shift from Immanuel Kant, from objective truths to subjectivity, is where it really begun.
So yeah, and that's the thing. It's like you have a subject and then you have an object. So how does the subject know the object? But then what if the subject wants to know himself, but then the subject becomes the object?
Yeah, that's very much related to Descartes. I think, therefore I am. He's the only thing he knows that exists is his thinking and consciousness first.
Yeah, so like your subjectivity becomes objectivity, and you're just in this infinite loop. But
I think the quality of your subjectivity is based on the quality of your knowledge, because you are only what you know. If what you know is limited, your subjectivity is confined to that. Someone who's well educated, well read, or for example, polymaths throughout history, or Tesla's, Da Vinci's, their understanding of the world is so much more richer and more suggestive than opposed to someone who's never read a book, never studied. So subjectivity is dependent on how much you know.
I just want to talk about that very quickly. I think the problem also is like TikTok and Reels and just platforms that allow people to just come on the internet and shape their opinion as truth. Like they're portraying their opinion as fact, and then I don't know where they get their research from sometimes, and some people go on and they have these long video essays and just using a lot of jargon, and it sounds right, it sounds cool, it sounds real, and then they just use that, and people listen to those videos. It gets thousands of views, millions of views at that, and people actually go to TikTok to do school. And the problem is people aren't reading anymore. The problem is people aren't using their critical thinking. They're just looking at what gets the most views, what gets the most likes, what opinion gets. It's really populist. A lot of people their politics is really populist. They just want to be on the right side of politics. And I think that's the problem. People you want to be liked in your thoughts, which is why when you do what you're doing, for example, and you come on the internet and you start putting I guess fact forward and backing that up by your opinion as well, which doesn't always have to be wrong. The problem is that people see that and it opposes what the general view is, opposes what the general public believe, and people hate it. They don't like it, they're repulsed by it. And I think, believe it or not, the biggest perpetrators of that is actually the political left. I think a lot of the time the political left is framed to be correct. The political left is framed to be this liberating, this thing that's so everybody is, everyone is free, everyone gets to do what they want, but in a way that is equal and fair to other people. But the problem is that the people on the left, far left anyway, are
Yep.
doing exactly what they are criticizing the far right, which is you're not actually being open-minded. If anybody disagrees with what you're saying, people are all sort of isms, people are all sort of obics, people are all sorts of everything, and it's like nobody can have any opinion that contradicts or contrasts with the views of the far left, if that makes sense. Yeah.
This is almost tribalism, isn't it?
What do you mean?
It's factionalism, essentially.
Yeah, okay. In
Us
like in
versus
terms of
them.
political parties, yeah.
But that's the beauty about social media. It's essentially an anarchy.
yeah.
There is no hierarchy on social media.
Yeah.
Even
Do you believe
someone
that?
with
Sorry.
sorry,
Do
carry
you
on.
believe that there like should be a hierarchy? So, you know what I mean?
I don't know.
I do.
You believe that there should be?
know.
Yes, I
Yeah.
do. I think there should be a hierarchy, but obviously it's going to be flawed. What I'm going to like, there are going to be flaws that people are going to be able to point out things in the hierarchy that I'm about to explain. That's problematic. But I think the people, like there is a school of thought called what's the word for knowledge?
Epistemology.
Epistemology.
But you know epistocracy. There's something called epistocracy in which the rulers, the governors of a state or like a group of people are the people who know the most, the people who are the most knowledgeable, the people who are the most intelligent. And it's not that I exactly agree with that like form of governing, but I do believe that there is a hierarchy in terms of knowledge. The problem is that certain people are not going to have access to knowledge. Certain people are not going to have access to schools and that system. I understand that. But I do believe that the people at the top, quote unquote, should be the people who have the relevant knowledge to do the relevant things. I think a lot of people just get away with doing whatever they want because it looks nice or they're saying the right thing, but it's not effective and it doesn't do good.
But I think that like universities have become a bit too much trying to do that, like trying to get experts. Like, you know that I think that philosophy is not a realm of like experts. Like, for example, you don't go to someone and then he's like, oh, this guy knows everything about life. You know what I mean? You can go
Yeah.
to someone and he knows everything about chemistry or biology, but I don't think philosophy is a realm for experts.
You're saying
This-
there's an abundance of knowledge but a lack of wisdom.
Yes, it's kind of like that, but it's more like I feel like universities, schools, and the system, instead of like farming experts, they should make it more like freedom to actually explore intellectual freedoms. You know,
What did Rothschild say? I don't want a nation of thinkers. I want a nation of workers.
yeah, literally.
Yeah,
That's
the education system job, the greatest conveyor belt of workers you'll ever see.
Yep. But so when you have like these experts at the top, a lot of people try to like, school has just become like a competitive, like just too competitive, I feel like.
So are you saying that the problem is that people are experts?
No,
That's
more,
quite reductive, but that's what I got from what you
yeah,
said.
no, more like it shouldn't just be, how can I say this? There's nothing wrong with having like expertise or being like
Yeah.
really skilled or knowledgeable.
People don't have a wide body of knowledge. You're only just like reduced.
Specialised.
Yeah, you're too specialized. Is that the issue?
Yeah, kind of. And like even at the top, I feel like the guy shouldn't be an expert. The guy should be dumb. And like the guy should
That's
be
a crazy way to put it, but I think I understand what you mean.
the guy should
Yeah.
be kind
Should
of
be
like so that people can relate to him. So power is
Yeah.
kind of just like an illusion. Like even Hegel said that the person at the top should be like he shouldn't take himself a fool is a king who takes himself seriously, like, you know what I mean, kind of.
Yeah, I think I can definitely like resonate with what you're saying, but I think I haven't explained the system well enough.
Yeah.
There isn't enough time to do so. But for me, it's like there will be an expert in economics, there will be an expert in politics, there will be an expert in whichever.
Philosophy?
But philosophy, I think it's too broad of a
Yeah,
thing to
that's what
say
I
an
mean.
expert in
It's
philosophy.
the whole meaning of life. It cannot be expertized. Is
Yeah,
what I
but
mean.
I think I understand, but I think it's more about survival than finding meaning a lot of the time.
Okay.
So the experts in allowing people to thrive as equally as possible.
Yep.
So the experts who can contribute to that system should be the people at the top making decisions. But obviously the people who are affected by the decisions will also get their input, if that makes
Okay.
sense. And we'll see, and it's just, you know, a lot of the time in life is trial and error. So whatever works, and whatever doesn't, we'll change it.
Okay.
Yeah.
It relates to an idea by Foucault. Foucault says the way society is structured or contained is by the fragmentization of knowledge. If you separate economics from maths and geography from biology and psychology, you create a society that is reliant on each other or chained to each other. It's kind of something we spoke about on your podcast a long time ago, actually, that knowledge used to be kind of holistic.
Yeah.
Now it's so fragmented thanks to specialization.
Yes.
However, if you want like a good holistic understanding of things, you kind of need to borrow from all subjects.
Yeah.
But that takes extreme dedication. Maybe in the 1700s, that's possible. You have a lot of spare time, no phones, no TV, all you have is nature and books. But now, at your desk, you can have all these books open, but you've got your phone, your TV, you've got work to get up to, you've got many distractions. So maybe the daily task of what life demands of you nowadays doesn't really set up well for a holistic understanding.
Yeah. It's more like the bigger picture, you know what I mean? Like what's the grander total? What's the meaning?
I think we're thinking too individualistically. My thing is we want a body of bodies. So, you know, what does he call himself? The guy who spoke about the state of nature.
Rousseau.
The other one.
Hobbes,
thank you. I don't know why I forgot his name, but Hobbes. He talks about the Leviathan. He talks about the big man who makes decisions for everybody because everybody has basically given...
social contract.
Yeah, the social contract. Everyone has given over their freedom, whatever that freedom is, over to this king, over to this ruler. What I'm saying is the people in that state, people on that governing body will form one voice, will form one man. So it doesn't necessarily require everyone to have a spread of knowledge. If multiple people have different expertise and we put that together, that creates that spread of knowledge, if that makes sense. But this is all hypothetical anyway. So
do you think that like when like talking about the UK, with what you were saying, do you think that like that applies? Like, do you think we're doing that effectively, or do you think that like the current system is not that good?
I can't even tell you that I know much about politics. But what I can say is it's quite corrupt, if I may.
Sure.
So
Understatement.
the answer is no. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. But the thing with British politics that's changed is you have to remember in history, after the fall of every great empire, there's always a decline.
Yeah.
After the Romans, the Ottomans, the Greeks, no matter what empire you look at, there's always a period of decline. What you're seeing right now in Britain is the decay of the British Empire.
Yep.
Before, Britain used to be Britain first. Now it's not Britain first. It's very much reliant on American sources. Our foreign policy is very dependent on America's decisions. It's very dependent on Israeli decisions. It's not an independent country anymore.
Yeah, but I think this Britain first MAGA thing, I don't think that's what made the UK great. I think what made the UK great is it's not nationalism or like, it's more universalism. You know what I mean? More like fighting for a global cause, global emancipation. I think that's what truly gets everyone. That's literally what attracts people to your country. You know what I mean?
British global emancipation.
Of course, they did bad things, a lot of bad things. But the UK, no, we have to give credit where credit is due. Like, no one has a welfare state this good. You know, I have an Audi A3 for free.
But you know what? Britain's welfare system is one of those. You're not caught. You're not sorry because you're not sorry. You're only sorry because you've been caught. That's British welfare system.
What do you mean?
Well, if you look at Karl Marx and Engels, their whole philosophical outlook on the proletariat, the working class, is based on observations in England, in Manchester, in Liverpool.
He died in London,
think about Charles Dickens, his novels, Hard Times, displaying how hard and ugly it was to live in Britain at the time. So Britain, if you look at London and see the facades, the marble, the beauty, that's when the idealism of the British Empire kicks in. However, when you look at it for what it really is, internationally even, they turned Bangladesh into the biggest drug empire in history. They when people today on TikTok and Instagram, India's become the biggest joke. Everyone likes to make
Indian
jokes
racism
about.
is crazy.
It's ridiculous. It is actually ridiculous how insane it's got. But the reason why it's accepted is because it's universal. And the reason why we see India today is the way Britain treated it. India's the richest country on earth. Not even close to second place. But look how it is today. You want to talk about Chinese opium wars? I'm not a hate on Britain, because I'm like you, similar. I do respect greatness, and I love greatness. Like you probably know me from my content. I love Napoleon, your Caesars. But British are very subtle.
Even when they invaded like different countries, like when they invaded India, they intentionally let them follow like their old religions. So
Divide and conquer is the British policy. That's British policy to a T. Divide and conquer. I was going to say something, I can't remember now. But anyway, carry on, sorry.
Yeah, they intentionally like let them follow their own religions, and they didn't secularize them because they were thinking that if they follow this old religion, they're never gonna like catch up to us. So, like they do sneaky shit like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Everywhere you go, you find that everywhere.
Yeah. What about? Do you have any?
I'm still stuck on the thing that you said earlier, which is first of all, it's a lot. I think the thing that I'm most stuck on is where you said that Britain had a policy of universalism.
Yeah.
I think it's not even that I want to disagree necessarily. It's just I think it's not calling it that makes it seem like something else, but it's not that. They weren't universalist. They were
of course
very individualistic. They actually only cared about their nation.
Yeah.
But it's about how coercive they were.
Yeah.
It's about how willing they were to do what other people wouldn't, which was to be violent, which was to be aggressive, which was to go to places where you were not invited. Nobody wanted you there. And the problem is Ambini, which is is a part of Nigeria. So we had an empire, actually. We actually had an empire. And the reason for the fall of that is to reduce it to nothing, our willingness to accept other people. We allowed the British in, which is what caused our demise. So it's the willingness of the British to do, as I said, what other people wouldn't. I would like to believe anyway, but this is all idealistic, that other people wouldn't go as far as to be as violent across so many nations in the whole world, thinking that they would get away with it, which they did to some degree. But I'm just more skeptical. I want to pinpoint the fact that they were more so coercive in the way that they went about it. You know, you have to trick your friends first before you can trick your enemies. Exactly. So they even, for the working class in their own country, in order for the elite to be successful, it's not even necessarily about being British anymore, to be honest. Absolutely. It's not really about nationalism. I even take back what I said. It's more so about the rich getting richer. And that said, the rich did whatever they could to make sure that there was always money in their pockets, which is why they more or less lied to the people in their own country who were suffering, the working class. And this, you can see it today. They pit the working class against each other.
And so they would like manipulate them into like anti-immigrant hate. But if immigrants and white working class teamed up against the rich,
then we'll actually be fighting the correct fight.
Exactly.
So I think sometimes language is important because it might suggest things that is not the case. I think I'm even also skeptical about the praise that we give Britain. Is like they did what they did, but were they really great?
No, I mean, the thing is, a lot of people, like, to expand on the universalism point, a lot of people say like, oh, London or the UK has no culture anymore. There's no like white man. You just go to London, you see black people, Asian people, brown people.
Yeah.
But I think if anything, that's what makes the UK great. The lack of identity. People see that, racists see that as like a bad thing, like the lack of identity. But I think I take from inspiration from Malcolm X. Yeah. You know, the X in his name.
Yeah.
He basically meant it as like X, as in like in algebra, like X. It's unknown. Yeah. It doesn't have an identity. So when the thing happened in America, the civil rights, he wasn't saying, let me go back to my roots. He was saying, this is a new opportunity to start from zero. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think I wanted to quickly say, because you said you think like British culture is basically what we see today, and I agree. But I just want to address the white racists in Britain who are usually often very like, you're actually really stupid, like you're quite dumb in a sense, like you got your GCSEs and that was it. A lot of the racists actually don't know what they're talking about. There were race riots happening in this country, in our streets, outside. Not this time last year, maybe in a couple of months last year, basically last year summer there were race riots happening, and a lot of the time you will go up to these people who are writing and ask them why exactly are you writing, and they actually have no clue. All they know is that the people at the top told me that it's the immigrants' fault. I've seen someone kill someone and they're not white, so therefore I'm gonna go and riot and cause problem and basically distract the world from what the real issue is, which is the people at the top who are actually creating problems. That said, Britain was built off of the backs of immigrants.
Yep.
So yes, that's why I agree with your statement, which is that there's that the British culture, like the current British culture, the culture that we see today is the culture that the immigrants built.
Yep.
Why? Because after World War II, it was either World War II or World War One, but after the wars, Britain was obliterated. The city, the country was in tatters, quite frankly. So and their soldiers were dead, their people were dead, their women were tired, everybody was exhausted, like they had just finished the war. So that's why you see things like Windrush. They've brought people in now to build up their country, and the rich people now at this point they're thinking, how do we keep our money? How do we make sure that the poor little like gremlins that like have nothing to do with them continue to be poor and I continue to be rich, put the people against each other and create issues that don't exist, like racism.
I want to touch on your point saying British, and it kind of ties in your point that British culture has no culture. I think there's a very simple reason why. Because I agree, I don't think there is a collective culture if in comparison to Latino culture, Arab culture, French, the Italians, Spanish. Because Britain never had to defend its culture. Every time you look at British culture, when it's at its most united, nationalistically, when they're united, is in World War I and World War II. Or, nowadays the plot against immigrants, saying this is your country, you own the country. That's when you see the passion. When you look at France, Germany, Spain, Italy, Ukraine, Poland, for centuries they were mainland Europe. Invasions, wars, people had to defend their culture from outside forces. Britain, by the victim of its own geography, is on an island. And we had the greatest navy in the world. So never, ever have British people ever had to defend their culture against outsiders coming in. Except when it comes to now, immigrants. Only time Britain ever had to defend its culture is ideologically. And that's thanks to the rise of knowledge, the printing press, book spreading. For example, you see in the French Revolution, which I call the greatest European event in history.
Yep.
After probably Luther, before World War I think it's the greatest event. French revolutionary ideals spread throughout all of Europe. Without no coincidence, Italy in 100 years became a country, Germany became a country, the liberation of all the South American countries. The French Revolution changed everything, except in England. When those revolutionary ideals came through, of liberty, equality, fraternity, and justice, for the working class to unite and equal the playing field between them and the aristocracy, it was oppressed immediately. The British working class people were not allowed to express revolutionary ideas.
Pretty sure they declared war on France.
Yes, and that's one of the reasons why Britain was so adamant at defeating Napoleon. It's because they did not want these ideals spreading anytime soon. You just need to go throughout history and just look. From 1800 to 1831, the mass amount of riots of the working class trying to rise up, but get squished down immediately. And that's why I believe today why the working class today are so, what's the word?
Divided.
Not divided. What's the word? Demoralized. Or they don't have energy for change, is because those revolutionary ideals from the French never truly set in British society. When you look at Italy, when politics go wrong, they rise up and fight. When the French politics go wrong, they unite and rise up. Same with the Spanish, all across Europe, except in England. And it's because we didn't get a taste of the French revolutionary ideals.
But I feel like it's kind of sad because you see youth in the UK, they're dying over drugs, they're dying over bullshit, they're dying. But so maybe we need to give them a better cause to die for. You know what I mean? I'm not saying die, but I'm saying a bet. Like if you can die for that, you surely be able to.
Yeah, but to die for something meaningful, you need to be a strong believer in truth. The greatest death one can die is when they do it for truth. The reason why we hail Gandhi, Martin Luther King, etc., is because they had a belief, a truth they held on to, and they died. The reason why we love soldiers in World War I and World War II, because there was a truth they held on to, and they died for it. Nowadays, if there's no truth because of the education system and knowledge and social media, we believe that everything about human nature has already been discovered. Everything to possibly know has been done. So now the youth nowadays are looking at this big grand world, so interconnected, so advanced technologically, and they ask themselves, how can I contribute to this world? And when they realize you need intense capital to do that, or find institutions for that, demoralization kicks in. But the turn to drugs is interesting. You mentioned that, because I think the increase in drugs is thanks to TV and phones, because we've become a very visual literate society. We rely on seeing things, films, TV programs, YouTube, and what is smoking, what is drugs, is all visual stimulation. So if you're someone growing up loving TV, cartoons and flashing, you're more open to trying drugs because you get to experience that in real time. So yeah, the more visually literate a society becomes, I think the increase in drugs accompany that.
100%. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Did you have anything? Or should I? Basically, I was saying that, like, so I drive to London, right, doing deliveries and stuff. And like, it's not as bad as America, but there is segregation in London. Like, you have hoods that are completely disconnected from the nice areas, especially in West and South.
Absolutely.
And you'd think that these people in the poor areas are working together to try and go against the richer areas or try and even the playing field. But the sad reality is that they're beefing amongst themselves.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Do you believe we live in one society?
We definitely live in like different worlds.
I don't believe there's such thing as one society.
Yep.
The rich and the poor is always the greatest example of that.
Yeah.
The reason why we can't relate to the rich and the rich can't relate to poor problems is because it's two different societies. So the best way, instead of looking at society as a triangle, the bottom and the top, because that assumes that we're all in the one, it's actually better to look at it as two bubbles. And then now when you add nationalities, religion, language, it's fragmented into different societies now.
Yeah.
You can actually go through London, as you said. You can go from North London, which is highly out Balkan, East, highly Asian, West. I mean, West is West. You've got Arabs, everything there.
Yeah.
So it's actually many different. It's just very fragmented thanks to diversity, I guess.
But I'm trying to say, like, that's what I mean. It's like, instead of fighting amongst each other, which is what happens in the poorer neighborhoods, they should be uniting. But unfortunately, there's just too much beef. There's too much.
How can they? The problem is the lack of education. The reason why we're here and we're able to have this conversation, I think all of us more or less went to university. I'm not saying the only way that you can be educated is through going to university, but we read, we know things, we're intelligent, we stimulate our brain, we search for more things to know. But some people, as soon as you're born, that's it for you. Your life has already reached the end as soon as you're born.
Yeah.
Why? Because you're born into poverty. A lot of people actually do make their way out through education and things of that nature. But once you're in a dog-eat-dog world, and the first thing that you have to think about is, my mom can't pay rent, I need to find a way to make the money, and you're gonna turn to quick money, which is gangs, which is fraud, which is drugs, which is all the things that, you know, are deemed bad. And as a result, people end up staying where they are, and they have to listen to what they think is right. They listen to the government. They listen to, I don't know, maybe their gang leaders, or the people who tell them how to fight, the people who tell them what their life like means and what they should be working towards. And as a result, these people are only going to fight amongst themselves because they are completely ostracized from the notion of there are bigger issues at hand.
Yeah, I think that's something called
so
string
sad,
theory, where people have the good intentions to be successful, they want good money, and when young boys or young girls from poor economic backgrounds, they look at the hierarchical ladder from where they are to where they want to be, and they realize that the legitimate way of going that way demands education, it demands a good social group, strong family, and they look at that, and thanks to the natural human instinct for self-doubt, they believe they can't achieve the legitimate way, but they still want the rewards at the top of it. Thus, they take the illegitimate way, and that's how you get gangs and crime and et cetera, et cetera. And that's why it's called strain theory, where you have good intentions, you want the good things to provide for your family, but there's a strain in how to get to that, so you take the illegitimate route. Yeah. My mother, she has a charity, and she deals with a lot of kids that come from gangs, and I've worked with a lot of these young boys. Yeah. Boys that are 14 years old, selling cocaine, carrying machetes. And I'm telling you, the one thing they all have in common is this. They've all been groomed. Yeah. Self-evident, obviously. Yes. But not by people. By music first. Yeah. The drill music grooms you first. Then when the people come, you're already understanding what they're offering. You already bought into the lifestyle thanks to the music. So when I hear people say drill music is just expressing what's going out on the streets, I'm someone who believes, I guess you can kind of at times call me a consequentialist. I believe in the consequences of things should determine if we should do it or not. Not as a one size fits all, because there's many elements where it doesn't work, it doesn't fit. But when it comes to drill music, I think the consequences of it far outweigh the need to express yourself.
I think I understand what you're saying. However, my thing is the music came after the gangs. The music came after the violence. It had to happen first. And if people are making music, I'm pretty sure when it started, the point was to make it reflective of what society was actually like. I'm pretty sure it was expressive. But what happened is I think the music started to pick up. People started to make money off of it, and then they started to glorify it. So the issue is once you're glorifying these things, people think it's okay. People think, oh yeah, I'm going to do that too. A lot of people, sometimes in the music that you're making, you didn't do that. I know you didn't do that, but sometimes it's a thing where now you have to prove yourself so that your music makes sense. But there was something else that I was going to say, and it's just like, we're now trapped in this bubble because you don't have access to what you should have access to, and the people who are in charge of giving you that access are not going to give it to you. They don't care. They don't give a heck. They will not be doing that. Why? Because if like I saw a video and someone was like, the worst thing that you could do is give, because I'm black. It was in the context of, you know, my social like identity. The sentence she said was, the worst thing that you can do is give black people education. And that one was really good. Why? Because the issue is, well, it's not a necessary condition to be black and to be poor, but the trend is often that if you are black in the UK, you come from a low socioeconomic background. And as a result, we get trapped in all of the things that, you know, we've discussed, the bad things, etc. But once we've gained intelligence, we are going to use it. And I think that's the same for every sort of race. I think that's the same for everybody in the working class. But it's just, you have to say that again.
There's such a Hegelian view of things.
In what
sense? Carry on. No, but that's what Hegel says. He says the spirit of the times is that the people must become self-conscious of their struggle. And once they become self-conscious of their struggle, that's when they have to come together to overcome the oppression of their time. So it's a very Hegelian view that for the black community to step out of oppression, they have to become self-conscious of it. And they can't think about what's good in 50 years, 20 years, 10 years. They have to fight against the spirit of the times now.
And even I think this goes universally, like the struggle that oppresses black people in poor neighborhoods, or Arabs in Palestine, or you know, people in Congo or Bangladesh, or even white
Ukrainians.
people, Ukrainians, even working class white people in the UK. This struggle is all part of the universal. It's all part of one universal struggle against oppression.
That's a very nice
which
point.
is why, again, like it's about, we should unite more. But you know, people call you corny for doing that or saying that or whatever. But
I even wanted to say that I made a video the other day which was basically titled "It Is That Deep." Because the problem is a lot of people is like, it's not that deep, guys. It's not that deep. You're gonna see the feminist struggle, you're gonna see the struggle of the oppressed in general, and it's like, it's the little things, it's genuinely the little things that they use to get you and keep you in the box that you are at the bottom. And people are often, and it's the people who are oppressed that always go, oh, it's not that deep, you guys are overthinking it. And they say it all the time to philosophers. It's like, it's the worst thing you can say to me is, it's not that deep, I will uppercut you. Like I hate that sentence, because the truth is, it is that deep. And the reason why we're still in this situation is because people constantly tell themselves it's not that deep. It is, and that mindset is what keeps us in this place. But yeah,
100%. Keep sweeping under the rug.
Yeah.
Carry on. I was gonna say, I hate when this.
I hope it comes back. I hope it comes back.
I was gonna say, Eden made. We had a clip on our channel last time about religion.
No,
do you remember? Yeah. Sorry, go.
Sorry. So
that's fine.
I think the elephant in the room is, in order to be united, and one thing about human nature is you have to unite under one person.
Yep.
It takes a leader to unite someone.
Yeah.
And nowadays, thanks to critical theory, when there is a leader, the first things we do now is this. Why are they the leader?
Yeah.
Who's benefiting from this? How are they benefiting from this?
Who made them
what
the leader?
advantages do they get and I don't get?
Cynicism.
Exactly. Or skepticism.
Yeah,
No matter how you want to look at it, it's both ways.
Yeah.
For example, you just can't have a leader nowadays. It's I think we have become exhausted of leaders, and something about Nietzsche says it goes, societies go through exhaustion. If you look at the 20th century, it was the century of leaders. You had Gorbachev, you had Lenin, you had Stalin, you had Hitler, Mussolini, you had Reagan, JFK, Castro, Mandela, Martin Luther King. We're exhausted of strong leaders. We wanted to take them more, how can we unite peacefully as a group? And this really started in the late 80s and 90s. But yeah, it takes one to unite all. But the people don't want to hail one anymore. And you can learn that story from the Bible as well. If you look at, I think religious structures are very fundamental in our understanding of things. And if you look at the Bible, for example, my favorite section in regards to teaching society, and I'm not a Christian, by the way, I just find it very interesting, is Moses and in Exodus, when he takes the people out of Egypt, they go through the wilderness. And I think the wilderness is always a great symbolism of nowhere, nothing, no plan, no hierarchy, no structure.
That's such an amazing
And it takes one leader to.
Yeah, but the problem is what you described has actually happened very recently. So COVID-19, the rise of post-truth, I think, went through the roof during that period of time. We're hearing stuff about 5G causing people to whatever. We're hearing all sorts of stuff, and people don't even know what to believe. And I think as a result of that period of time in which everybody was looking to the experts, and the experts were contradicting themselves, and the experts didn't know what to tell us, and the experts were just talking amongst themselves, and the experts were just saying a lot of stuff. I think as a result of that, people just decided that they're going to do it themselves. And the problem is they've taken a leap. There's an entire gap between an individual and the expert, and then that expert's in their realm of governing. There is an entire period of time in which you have to study. There is an entire period of time in which you have to gain knowledge that people have completely overlooked.
I sound like I'm some preacher right now, but I'm not even meaning to. There's a verse I read once. I think it was the book of Judges, chapter 19, verse 6, and it said, and in those days, Israel had no kings, everyone done what they thought was right. And that's a great example of today. Why we're so fragmented, and it ties into what we spoke to earlier about subjectivity, is we do what we as individuals think is right, instead of thinking what is right for all of us.
Let's go to religion. I love
this conversation.
You don't want, or you do?
No, I love it.
Okay. You made some good points about it last time. You were like, is religion just a political tool? Is it just a tool for control? I'm not gonna lie to you. I did agree with your clip, obviously, but is that really the whole story? It's purely a tool for control, or is there some truth in the religions, especially let's say mainly the Abrahamic?
I stand with what I said, and I believe that the sole purpose of religion was to be a political tool. Can it be used for other things? Absolutely, but we have to always go back to the root of what the point of religion was.
So you say religion was fundamentally created from scratch to be a political tool?
Yes.
The only rebuttal I have against that is Christianity was created by slaves.
Okay.
Same with Islam.
It came from the very, very bottom. And I doubt the poorest slaves in the Roman Empire got together around a board meeting and said, yes, in 2,000 years, this will be a fantastic political tool. Religion, end of the day, when it became intellectualized, so I guess 300, 400 years after Christ, so we talk about the Philo of Alexandria, the Nicene doctrine. In this time period, when religion got hold, when the intellectuals got hold of religion, and Christianity started to form itself with the Roman Empire structures, that's when we can argue it became political, after maybe Constantine. But I wouldn't say religion's sole purpose is to be political.
It is, because I think the issue that people have is people think I'm talking about a specific religion. I'm not. I'm talking about the structure and the format of religion as a concept. It came from politics. The only reason why people have an issue is because it feels like I'm attacking your religion. I'm not. Your religion is good. Your religion is fine. I'm pretty sure what you believe is very concrete and very solid. The liturgy and the doctrine, a lot of the time, maybe not doctrine, but the liturgy, like the words in the Quran, for example, the words in the Bible, is good. I believe it's good. I believe it enhances people's lives. However, it's the structure of religion, and the point of it was used to control people. That's what I'm arguing, because the way that I put it is, let's imagine the state of nature in which Hobbes spoke of. In that state of nature, everybody was doing their own thing. In that state of nature, everybody can have faith. In that state of nature, everybody can have a belief in a God. In that state of nature, everybody can be religious in the sense of faith. However, once you give all of your freedom to the almighty ruler, which can be a multiple body of people or it can be an individual, what happens is people start interacting with each other. As alongside politics comes ways in which you can keep people in order. Control sounds like a bad word, but people are being controlled. That doesn't have to be a bad thing. And the way in which you're being controlled is through the structure of religion, in which it's very, very, very convenient to get people to do what you want them to do by telling them there is an almighty power that is going to do what X, Y, and Z to you if you do not do X, Y, and Z.
What do you mean by structure?
What do you mean by?
Like you said, the structure of religion. What structure? The
structure that I'm referring to.
What is the structure?
The structure that I'm referring to is basically how people, the concept of religion, right, for me, is it tells people what to do. It tells people what to do, and then it gives people a consequence. And as a result, people have to follow the rules in order to avoid the consequence. And
do you think there's truth to the consequences, though?
But
if someone drinks too much alcohol, is there a consequence to that?
There's definitely a consequence. However, it's about what the consequence is. None of us know.
So you're referring to the hell element of it? Not
necessarily. I'm also referring to the heaven part. This is what you do in order to be good, in order to go to heaven. This is how you have to behave.
So do you think philosophy was invented to control people?
I don't think philosophy was invented.
Because philosophy and religion is very hard to break.
They're separate. They're very, very different.
You think they're separate?
Absolutely.
In what essence would you say they're separate?
Philosophy hasn't been created. Philosophy is not a structure. The West have maybe made it and given it a structure, but philosophy is the interrogation of concepts. Philosophy is like an interrogation of thought. What exists, what doesn't exist. It's the study of everything. So for me, you can't create thoughts. You can't create ideologies.
I'm a strong believer that religion is systematized philosophy. I think religion is one step ahead of philosophy. It's much more intricate and systematized. And systematized has got a negative connotation to it. I think it's actually... I always say the best way to understand religion is if you got to understand Plato and Aristotle. Okay. And when you merge these two together, you get philosophy. You get religion. Yeah. So if you take the Platonic view of things, there's an abstract world, an invisible world we can't see or gain access into. That's kind of the realm of God. So when Plato speaks of the good and points up, that concept of the good got transitioned into the concept of God. The good is God. Now, Aristotle talks about actions and choices, things you need to do every day that develops character. So now when you take Aristotle and Plato together, that's where you get religion. Religion takes the Aristotelian view that there's certain decisions and choices you make in your life that will eventually lead you to the realm of the good or God. You have to understand as well that in human nature, there's two things that we live by more than anything, pleasure and pain. Yeah. Human beings, we want to maximize our pleasures and avoid as much pain. Freud developed on that, but it's purely comes from Aristotle's Nicomachean Ethics. I read it recently and I was blown away by it. But there's a lot. Aristotle says that there is a lot of pleasures that are not good for you. So eating too much chocolate is a pleasure, but it brings you pain. Drinking a lot of alcohol is a pleasure. You get drunk, you have a good time, but there's a pain, a hangover. Smoking cigarettes is pleasurable, but what's the pain? Ill health. Now, when you look at religion, there's certain, as you say, rules or things they tell you what to do, but it's for your benefit. Would you say to someone who is healthy, happy, good family, and they're religious, would you enter their house and say, this was designed to control you, to oppress you?
But I didn't say that. That's the thing. Okay. That's the thing. Do you see? That's what the problem that people have with what I'm saying. Control doesn't have to be bad. But what I'm saying, it is a form of control. I'm trying to think of a different example to give. Like there are
discipline. That's the best word for it. Discipline.
There are different analogies that I've drawn. Like at the end of the day, when you go to university, the systems in which you're in are controlling you. but it doesn't have to be bad. But you are in a system, and what I want people to do is wake up to that fact. Wake up to the fact that you are in a system.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And that's the problem. A lot of people, you fall victim to this, and then you go blind.
But the question is, once you become self-conscious that you are in a system, what do you want them to do?
I want them to focus on their faith and be aware to how something like religion can cause bad things. Because I think a lot of people to think religion can't do any harm whatsoever, and that's the problem.
Okay, question. Sorry to interrupt you. It's just,
No, at all.
Because it's on your point. Do you think religion is people, or do you think religion is text?
I think religion is a system, and a system comes from people.
Because the only argument that's against religion is bad religious people.
Say that again.
The only argument against religion is bad religious people. So your jihadists or your Zionists or KKK.
Okay, I can hold space of that. Yeah.
Who swear by this religion, but they do otherwise.
You do bad
That's
things.
the only argument against religion. When you see good religious people, would you then? What's the criticism?
I'm not criticizing them.
No. You're not criticizing, but you are doing a critique a little bit.
It's critical, but I'm not criticizing.
Okay,
I'm not
true,
saying it's bad.
You're right.
I'm just saying people need to open their eyes and acknowledge the fact, because and the comments in that video is exactly my point.
Yeah, but
suddenly,
passion.
Faith is.
Yeah, true.
Faith is passionate.
True.
Religion and faith are separate. Faith is passionate. Faith is your blind belief in the God that you serve. However, religion, on the other hand, is a system, as I said, that controls you. It sounds like I'm just repeating myself.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, go on.
Do you think at its core, religions, especially the Abrahamic ones, right? Do you think that they are progressive or conservative?
That's a great question.
Because I would say the argument that I think at its true message, if you like really, really look in, I think religion, the Abrahamic ones especially, even Judaism, they are all progressive. Because as Riyad said, Christianity was a religion of the slaves. So was Islam. I mean, the message of Christianity is that someone died for all of us. You know what I mean? The message of Islam, freeing slaves, united under one ummah, one. You know what I mean? These are all progressive elements. These are not.
And also Judaism is slaves as well. The Israelites in the Egyptian.
Exactly.
Even
Judaism is the first one to introduce, one singular God before they just used to worship anything. So these are all progressive in nature. So why now do we have religion as the total opposite? Religious people are viewed as, backwards traditionalists, when in reality, religion was progressive. Yeah. So what?
Because society loves, we like knowing what we see. Science is materialistic by nature.
Yes.
Nothing can be proven unless we can see it or identify or have a material. Religion is about the opposite, the metaphysical. But also you have to be sensitive to be religious. And to be sensitive, it relies into faith. But there's so many answers for this question.
And you were saying about science, it's like atheists love to say that there's no God. They talk about science, but do you ever feel like these atheists treat science as their
I was
God?
literally going to say that. Like, science is the religion of atheists a lot of the time.
That's very interesting. Sorry, carry on.
And you know what's crazy? That even religious people even use this. There's this theory by, I don't know if you know him, Jack Lacan.
Lacan, yeah.
He calls this thing called the big other. Basically, it's like just where you put God in. So scientists like Richard Dawkins and that, they have science as their big other. But even religious people seem to be fascinated by science. They always say, "Oh, well, the Bible and the Quran, they're scientifically proven as well." Like it's the whole concept of this big other. But unfortunately, Lacan's final statement on the big other was that the big other doesn't exist.
Okay.
God, there's so many things to say about religion here.
I think there's one thing that I want to just establish first. I think the issue a lot of the time is definition. So for me, religion and faith are separate, but a lot of the time they're used interchangeably. And I think that's the problem.
Why do you label faith and religion separate?
Because I believe faith is personal. And once you make faith, I want to say universal, but once you make faith systematic, that turns into religion.
can you have personal faith and have faith in religion at the same time? Because isn't that what a prayer
Yeah,
is?
you can
ask God for things. That's your personal faith, your personal askings.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. That's exactly my thing. Faith is personal. You can have faith and be religious, but there are certain religiosities that people should avoid.
Such as
Blindly listening to rules that have been imposed on you by a quote unquote leader.
And so what rules would you suggest, would you say that?
I think issues like people being homophobic and people being misogynistic
Fair point.
all come from this system of religion in which people just want to impose control.
I think this is a perfect time to, you know, that question you asked earlier, is religious progressive or conservative? It's actually a great question. It's actually a really good question. Because I say, so let's use Islam, for example. Like, my dad's Algerian, I grew up Muslim. I still practice it because I just find a lot of benefits in it. I guess one reason is because, one thing is, when I read a lot of different philosophies, I found myself very fragmented. One day I'm a Stoic, one day I'm an existentialist. Thursday I'm a this, and a Sunday I'm a different philosophy. But when you have God, is precision, is a direction now. It keeps you stable and strong. And then you can build your personality around an iron beam, as opposed to philosophy. It's so fragmented. Exactly. It's like, I say philosophy is like Spider-Man's shooting web. It just sprays out everywhere.
But surely it's the same thing for religion.
Sorry. What I was going to say is, you're right. Finish. I say Islam's greatest strength is this, and you see all over social media. The language has never changed. It's set in stone. How it was then is how it's now. That's its greatest strength, but it can also be its greatest weakness because it lacks that adaptability to the modern day.
But can I just say something? You know how you was talking about misogyny in religions and stuff? You know that Islam, unfortunately, gets a lot of bad PR for being, you know, women's rights and that.
100%.
But you know that the Prophet Muhammad, peace be on him, he was progressive with women's rights. Like, he was made really progressive in women's rights. So the people who are now oppressing women, they're really perverting the message. So I'm sorry.
And who are those people?
The religious figures, the scholars, the
Do you see how this is my point?
Yeah.
The intellectuals.
Yeah. So
but religion was never designed to be in the hands of the intellectuals. The intellectuals got a hold of it, and they imposed their own systems of thought on the religion. You have to remember, intellectuals are very arrogant people. They are one of what do they always believe all of history has been leading up to them, and after them,
I love it.
History ends. They've solved everything.
So do you think atheism is the answer then?
What are we talking
I don't
about?
think. I think, honestly, it's going to sound cringy. You might not like my answer. I genuinely believe the answer is just kindness. Genuinely.
But is there a God or not?
Yeah, absolutely. I believe in God.
Okay.
I think if you observe nature, if you observe society, human nature, you find more unity than divide, really. But my concept of God isn't a judge sitting there, evil, out, good, you're in. That's a very that's a very lawyer view of God. I see God's somewhat existence itself. And that's not to be spiritual. God is everywhere. God is everything. But I generally believe it is. My concept of God is similar to Plato's concept of God. It's weird because I was very much on your side of things with religion. But I always say Plato brought me back to God without him ever talking about God. You know, in the Muslim empire, the Arab Caliphate, the first one, you know, that Islamic golden generation, they called Plato Imam. The first Christian intellectuals, Philo of Alexandria, etc., they called Plato. How is it he knew so much about God and the word of God without ever having it revealed to him? He essentially compares God almost like to the sun. He doesn't believe in good and evil. You know, God is fighting for good and the devil's fighting for bad. That's a very Zoroastrian view of things. Al-Razur, Mazda, and the evil forces of the world. Plato believes God is like the sun. The closer you get to God, the more warmth and goodness you feel with God. But the further away you go from God is where you find evil. And that's an akin to Dante's Divine Comedy. When you get to the bottom of Circle 9, the devil isn't in a fire pit with lavas and fire raining from the skies. He's in an ice wasteland because God's warmth doesn't reach down to the bottom pits of hell. So when I'm doing good actions in my life or being kind, or I see others being good and kind, I say they are closer to God. They're closer to the warmth. When I see evil or just evil. Yeah, that sums up quite nicely.
Yeah.
They're far away from God. That's my conceptual view of God, not just someone who goes bad boy, good boy, bad boy, good boy. I think that's a very reductive view and actually a very Western view of God. Or the second view I take of God is a very Hinduistic view of God. I love the concept of Brahman. And I've said to you before, and I'm not sure if I would say he's my favorite philosopher anymore, but Schopenhauer is a different level.
Yeah, pretty negative.
And Brahman makes the most sense to me. There's a single God, entity. It's intelligent, it's beyond your comprehension, and it's true, because I always say to people, try to think about God purely without getting tired first. If I said to you right now, sit here, think of God, close your eyes. After a while, you have to tap out because it's too much for your brain. So that's when I say there is some possibility of existence of God from the mere fact you can't contemplate it for that long.
Yeah,
So
like
there's a limit
Descartes,
to your imagination.
a little bit.
But Brahman is a single God that extends itself out to how you would understand God. So if you live in South America in the Amazon, God reveals himself in a way for you to understand him. That's how I would view God.
Yep. Did you want to say anything?
I don't think so.
Okay. So let's move on from religion to Bonnie Blue.
Oh,
Bonnie Blue and the
What?
sexual revolution.
Sexual revolution.
So someone on TikTok, I showed you that clip, right? She was like,
Think
if
so,
we're gonna
yeah.
ban the burqa, let's talk about banning Bonnie Blue.
Absolutely.
What do you guys think about that? If you have any,
I would say Bonnie Blue is the greatest symbol of feminist ideology taken to its extreme logical conclusion.
really?
If it's your body, you can do whatever you want with it. Bonnie Blue is the extreme conclusion, that logical conclusion. She will let 1,000 men come in her, 1,000 men enter her. But what can we say? It's her body. So she's taken that logical premise of it's my body, my rules, and taken to conclusion. And what can we say? This is the beast that society bred 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago. But Bonnie Blue is,
do you
you
really
just have to
think-
look at her eyes. When you see her eyes, it says everything you need to know.
But do you really think that's what the sexual liberation movement or the feminist liberation movement was about? Or is she just...
The sexual revolution, I think, is tied into nihilism as well. And it's very Epicurean that if there is no afterlife, no God, no meaning to life, then our job on earth is to maximize our pleasures as great as possible. And sex is, let's be honest, one of the greatest pleasures you can experience as a human being. And that being glorified ties into that ideology of we must maximize our pleasures. So that's why I think the sexual revolution is built its premise on.
Do you have any...
Yeah.
Okay, I thought
I do. I
thought you were
wanted
uncomfortable.
No, not at all. I wanted to listen first. I wanted to listen first and
Okay.
hear what was being said before I came to my conclusion. Should I launch?
Just to give you some context, so she's
Yeah.
currently doing a petting zoo. So
She cancelled it.
Oh, she cancelled it.
Yeah, she cancelled
But
it.
she was gonna like sit in a glass
Yes, she
box.
was.
And
I saw that. That's
She
very
was.
Baphomet.
I don't want to.
ritual style.
I personally don't want to judge her. But let's hear what you have to say.
Okay, let me. I shall begin.
Yeah.
I believe Bonnie Blue can do whatever she chooses.
Okay.
That's my conclusion. She can do whatever she so chooses. And what I think, I've categorized it. I think a lot of people are attacking her on two fronts. The main ones, the main are two fronts. One, the front of feminism, and two, front of religion. Let's talk about the feminist criticism of what Bonnie Blue is doing. The criticism is that she is setting back feminism years because she's allowing people to use her body to do whatever. In response to that, I just want to ask these people, why are we allowing Bonnie Blue to be our picture of feminism? The only way for her to set back feminism is if we allow her to. Because Bonnie Blue doing what she's doing doesn't justify anybody else's actions. And I think something else that we need to, the way you both sat up at the same time was gold. But I think what we need to do is we need to understand that without the people petting, there will be no zoo. I think a lot of people, this is the epitome of misogyny, and it's fantastic, it's amazing, it's gold. What we're going to do is victim blame, quote unquote. That's what I'm going to call it. We're going to focus on the woman, we're going to focus on what she's doing. She will have zero business if people didn't go. And that's the thing that I think a lot of us need to focus on.
I agree with you in one sense that Bonnie Blue, I've got way more to say in a minute, But the one way I'll agree with you is that is she totally to blame? No. When you see those group of guys in ballies and masks queuing up for hours, they're the ones to blame. They feed into this culture.
Exactly.
If they weren't so lustful, desirous for pleasure, and they had some self-control and some regulation and actually some pride and dignity, we wouldn't be in this situation. So Bonnie Blue, as you're right, and you poetically put it lovely.
Thank
There
you.
wouldn't be a petting zoo if there was no people there.
Yeah.
However, now I'll let you carry on.
Okay. Yeah, that's me talking on the feminist
Can I ask
front.
a very simple question?
Yes, you can.
This is gonna be very controversial, but who's she really hurting? Not really
I
hurting.
think, yeah,
She's
that's
not
what
really
I'm.
hurting.
Can I shock you?
not
Can
moral.
I shock everybody in the world? I think everyone is going to be shocked by this one. You know, in the same way that you have a religion, let's just argue that Bonnie Blue has a religion. Let's just hypothetically, let's do this theoretical thing that philosophers love to do. Let's give Bonnie Blue a religion, and her religion is let's maximize pleasure. Let's make sure everybody gets the most pleasure that they want. And in order to do that, I think, according to her religion, she is the highest good. She's doing the best thing possible for humanity. Why? Because she's allowing these people who clearly, well, not clearly, let me not do that before the people have they want to come for me, but who probably don't have a romantic relationship, don't have a sexual relationship that they're dying for. She's given them that opportunity. She's also given, as she put in her own words, young boys the opportunity to have sex in an environment that is safer than other environments that they otherwise would have, basically. And according to her logic, she is doing a good thing.
Yeah.
But people, I think, are afraid of that conclusion. I feel like you have something to say.
Yeah, you looked a bit.
Obviously, I'm a teacher.
Yes,
I'm around young people all the time.
you are.
Do you think 12-year-olds should know about Bonnie Blue and what she gets up to?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Okay, that's why she's bad.
I think the 18.
More than anything.
No.
When you see the Chris and Bonnie Blue, it always ties into
That's
the
not
youth.
fair. Can I tell you why that's not fair? It's about the parents first. It is.
You can't control what your child sees.
Yes,
every
you
time, all the
absolutely
time.
can.
A kid in the playground with their phone, where's the parent? They're going to scroll. She's affecting women badly
Why is that?
because you're saying, what is her value? Bonnie Blue's value.
Are you
Why
asking
is
me?
she valuable?
Are you asking me? Everyone is valuable in their own way.
What's her value? What
That's
does
not
she
fair. You
sell
can
more
ask-
than anything?
You
online?
can ask. Do you have an answer?
Yeah. I'm asking you. Like, what
Do-
does she sell? What does she promote?
I'm pretty sure she has her OnlyFans. She's like
And what does
she's a porn star.
OnlyFans symbolize for you?
Say that again.
Oh yeah, I was
What
gonna
does OnlyFans and sexual promiscuity online promote for you?
porn
What-
industry in general.
What good does it promote for you?
It's. I don't think it's about me, because I wouldn't do this personally.
No, of course.
And
There's many women who are like Bonnie Blue,
Yeah.
but they don't do it online. They don't tell the world about it. They don't go on Chicken Shop Cafe online. They don't go on mainstream
so
media
yeah,
and
but-
promote this life. Yes, I'll allow 1,000 men in my room. No problem. Girls, go out there and do it.
she didn't say that.
13-year-old girls are watching
But
this.
did she say that though?
Of course she said that.
Do,
She's
do you have solid evidence that she said that? Because I don't know.
obviously right now I don't. I
So
don't have
so you
solid
so you
evidence
can't
right
say
now.
that she said that.
But you can't.
'Cause I doubt that
you
she
can't
said
say
that.
she hasn't said that.
I can say she hasn't said that in the same way that you said that she said that.
Okay. However, 13-year-old girls are watching Bonnie Blue. 14-year-old girls.
Yeah.
They're seeing Bonnie Blue's making millions a month.
Absolutely,
She's got
100%.
houses,
In the same way that
cars.
people are exploiting people in Congo to make money, millions, billions of pounds. The problem that people have is a woman. She is using her ability to attract attention to make money. Go girl,
So
make that money.
Just to make this right.
Yeah.
You think it's acceptable as long as she's making money from it? You are
I
allowed to
think-
sell out your moral code of society on your principles
Can we hold space
for
with
money.
that quickly? Whose moral code?
Moral code.
Whose?
Again, I will always relate to the youth. If it's something we wouldn't teach the youth, then there's something inherently negative about it.
Okay.
If you wouldn't teach a 15-year-old girl, would you sit a 15-year-old girl in front of you, say, my friend, if you want, you can go out and sleep with thousands of men, post your body all over social media and make
Yeah.
millions. So is that something you would actively suggest as a career option to a 15-year-old girl?
I'm going to hold space with the question before I answer it.
Yeah. Sorry.
Do you want to say something?
No,
If you
not
wouldn't,
really.
I'm saying if you wouldn't do that, there must be something inherently wrong. Because all
Not
moral codes
necessarily,
begin
because
with
some
our
people
protection
might.
of the youth.
Some people might.
It doesn't matter. Well, I would
It
hope
does.
the bare
A lot of people,
absolute
the problem,
minimum of people do that.
The issue is that people are projecting their own morals onto other people. Unfortunately, that has nothing to do with her. Bonnie Blue does not care about your morality. She cares about her own.
That's true. But earlier in this podcast, you said that we've become too subjective and we've not become objective enough.
Yes, I did.
Bonnie Blue is living a very, very, very subjective life.
I can hold
So do
space
you
with that.
believe she is living objectively or subjectively?
I think she's doing whatever she chooses, as everyone else is doing whatever they choose. And the reason why, because this is something that I actually wanted to mention. I'm so sorry. This is something that I actually wanted to mention. In terms of subjectivity and objectivity, going all the way right back to the beginning, I believe that objectivity exists, yes, but we can never identify it in this world currently. It's not possible. We cannot, because there's too much subjectivity.
No, we can.
And that's the way human beings are. That's the way human beings exist. At the end, when we die and we go to wherever, we'll find out who's right in terms of religion, we'll find out if there's a God or not, and then we'll find out what the objective rules were. I believe in that sense of objectivity, but I'm not going to impose that objectivity on other people who have different concepts. The reason why there's Islam and there's Christianity and then there's Judaism and then there's Buddhism and Hinduism is the same reason why people can have different moralities as well.
Maybe Bonnie Blue just needs love. Like maybe she just needs someone.
Or maybe she doesn't.
No, but I think this is like genuinely a very serious topic.
It's a very philosophical topic and I love it. Yes.
Yeah, no, it's serious because I wanted to answer a question. Would you suggest as a career option to a 14, 15-year-old girl?
Me personally, I wouldn't.
Why?
But other people
But why would you not?
But what you're trying to do is suggest that my reasoning...
I'm just asking why would you not?
Okay, I'm going to answer your question. I wouldn't, because it's not something that I personally would do. I will only suggest to others.
Why would you not do it?
Well, I think because
why would you not be Bonnie Blue?
I just wouldn't.
But why?
Because first of all, I can't be somebody else.
Yeah,
but
true. But why wouldn't you be Bonnie Blue?
Because of my morals, because of my religion. That's why I wouldn't. And even outside of morals, outside of religion, that is scary. She's doing a very scary thing. I could never do that.
That's the point I'm trying to make. It is scary.
No, you're not making.
Corrupting.
The problem is that you're not making a point.
Lust leads to corruption in society.
Okay.
If young boys are going on social media and they're seeing a girl who's willing to give sex out for free, doesn't matter if the young boy is intelligent, successful,
Can I shock you?
respectful or politeful,
Okay.
they're just getting sex without any character traits. What does that teach young people about sex?
It doesn't teach them anything about sex. It teaches them something about misogyny. That is the issue. If they go that, why is our problem Bonnie Blue and not the people attending?
Because she's the face. She made herself the figurehead. It isn't like we accidentally made her that way. Like someone like Mia Khalifa, for example, she accidentally got put as the face of that industry.
Yes.
But Bonnie Blue is promoting herself as the face of it. She goes on BBC, she goes on ITV, she goes on mainstream TV, she goes on social media, she's on your biggest YouTube channels. She's actively trying to make herself the face of something very, very scary. And the problem is, again, I'm a teacher, I work with young kids all the time. Why do they know who Bonnie Blue is? 12-year-olds are disgusted by Bonnie Blue. 15-year-olds are disgusted by Bonnie Blue.
Even when you were young, you probably knew about porn. Like
Exactly. Exactly. But porn is a dark side of the internet. You have to actively go seek it.
Yeah, can we talk
Bonnie
about
Blue's
the
in your
parents
face.
then? Can we talk about the parents then? You know there's an age restriction for TikTok.
True.
Are you aware that that's the case? So
But
12-year-olds on
again,
TikTok is already a problem.
I think we need to stop. Like kids. They obviously they shouldn't be exposed to stuff like that. I do agree with you, but like they're also not stupid. Like they can make their own decisions.
Absolutely.
Like you know what I mean? They're still free agents.
One thing about kids that have shocked me as a teacher is how intuitively sharp they are.
So
We
why
have
are
two
assuming that
intellects.
they're dumb?
We have the mind intellect, which relies on what we know and what we've gained through data and experience of our life. But we also have the intuition. Young kids don't have this yet, but they have sharp intuitions. When you're teaching Shakespeare or very highly emotive things, they're able to connect with it unbelievably. Not one student in my whole time has ever outright said, and my classroom culture is pure honesty. No kid is scared to speak their opinion. Ever said, you know what, sir? Bonnie Blue's a real one. I rate what she's doing.
So
It's all collectively, sir, that is messed up. What is she doing? How does a 12-year-old know that? 15-year-old know that?
Can I make a
because misogyny is everywhere.
Can I make a point?
But even
That's
if
the
girls believe it.
reason. You know, misogyny affects women as well.
I don't think it's misogyny. I wouldn't say it's misogyny at all.
What would you say it is?
I would say I would have the exact same opinion if there was a male like who's the guy on TikTok, the one that's light-skinned guy.
Ali Kingston University.
No, the other one.
I mean,
Mitty
Oh my
guy,
gosh, I don't know
HS
him.
Tiki Toki,
Yeah.
whatever.
Okay.
He's he's somewhat of a male version. He's in Dubai. He's with all
Okay.
these girls, chat to loads of girls. I think that's wrong as well. I don't think that's right. You shouldn't be teaching young people lust and desire, giving into false bodily flesh, because that's how you lead down a dark road. Because if you rely on stimulation in life, you start with having sex, then you want to get drunk and have sex, then you want to get high on drugs and have sex. The stimulation just increases and increases. I don't think that's a good thing to promote.
I think there's something that we need to separate. Like, I agree with you. I'm not saying that it's bad. No, sorry, I'm not saying that it's good. Everybody should just promote lust. Everyone should be lustful all the time. Everyone should do that. But I think when I say misogyny is like, it's a system. It's almost, if you like, a body of beliefs and ideas that you teach people. And I think religion can teach that lust is bad, but I think misogyny also teaches that as well. So when you're saying, oh, I hold this belief when it's a man as well, I will still argue that that's also misogyny.
Can I make a point about that? At the same time, women are viewed as like, by patriarchal figures, obviously not everyone, but I'm saying women are viewed as like household maids or household like caring, nurturing, and at the same time sex objects.
Yeah.
And they're kind of opposite to each other, but it's like they expect them to be both at the same time. But like it's a very contradictory view. It's like, how do you and it's always these people that are misogynistic. They usually say they want a girl at home to just, be nurturing that, but they usually like OnlyFans models and that. So what I'm trying to say is that maybe women, not just women, even subjectivity in general is a contradictory force. Not just women, you know what I mean?
I'm trying to even grasp what. Sorry, can you rephrase?
Yeah, so
what you're asking?
people usually view like women as like either they're caring, nurturing, cooking at home, or
hypersexualized.
Sex, hypersexualized. It's like, why these two? Like, why can they not be? Is it possible to be both at the same time, or are they just two completely?
Question.
Are they just two completely different things?
Ways of life, isn't it? It's interesting you say that, because I don't think. Again, it goes back to your earlier point, and it was a great point.
Which point?
That Bonnie Blue wouldn't exist if it wasn't for the men that feed into it. I completely agree with you.
And women.
I completely agree.
Sure
When I see the men standing there queuing, I'm looking at you, just so have some pride, have some dignity, How are you giving into this? What kind of example are you presenting to men? Because I'm a strong believer that if you're a man, your responsibility of being a man is that you represent all men. Okay. The actions you do, things you do in life is reflective of men. So if you're lustful, shameful, violent, aggressive, when you do that to someone, for you, I will now represent what men could be, or I show a side of us. So men have to be very careful in their actions. So when I see them queue up for Bonnie Blue, it's wrong. However, one thing we all know is this. You go on social media, there'll be a girl who do something very simple like cooking, but she'll dress half naked. Camera angles are placed in very special places, and they'll have thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of followers. Yeah. People, are they following her because her cooking is so great, or are they following her because she's subtly hiding something in there? I love football. There's many, 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 many girls on Instagram that will post football content. They'll pretend it's football. They wear a football kit, kick a football, but what they're wearing is very hyper-sexualized. So how is it that women can grow so huge on social media, labeling it as cooking or football? Why is it they can get so big?
Because women are more sexually attracted, like women.
And it goes back to my point, it's because of the men. But women see other women doing that and they want to make money. I don't want to be a man who speaks for all women here, because I'm not. But it's just from my experience, this is what I see on social media. And I go in the comments and it's men. Wow, amazing, beautiful, wow. Oh, there's always some uncle in there with a paragraph dedicating all his love to her and everything. I'm saying some section of women in society want the traditional life. There's another section of women that are intellectual, the career-focused women. But the other type of women are the ones that men like a lot. And unfortunately, they get all the attention. And they accidentally overshadow the rest of the women in society.
But that was my question. It's like, why does it have to be? Oh, I'm either a caring, nurturing woman, or I'm hypersexual, or I'm Do you see what I mean? Why does it always have to be
Either or.
Either or.
Yeah.
That's my point.
I'm struggling to see where it's either or.
That's how it's viewed. I'm not saying it is. I'm saying that's how like patriarchal figures, misogynistic figures, some of them view it. Like
But that's how it's been divided.
Yeah.
Because you got alpha men who go, yeah, motivation, grind, hard work, hustle.
I'm just
9 to
afraid
5.
that this conversation is just now rearing into a like place that I'm not really interested in.
True.
I really
no, sorry.
yeah,
Fair,
I'm very philosophical, so I'm trying to philosophize it as
Yeah.
much as possible, which is why I engaged in the initial conversation, which was about basically feminism, oppression, and different like dynamics and structures that exist philosophically and in various other ways. But this conversation is just, I like to call it plantain Twitter. I feel. So it's just like I don't know if it's progressive. We've heard these conversations. Yeah, literally we've heard it.
But
We've
I
heard it so
think
many
it is
times.
quite philosophical because we
Please
talk
tell
about the
me how.
consequences of Bonnie Blue and that industry.
But the like where you just went just then with your description and how you're saying some women do X, some women do Y, I just feel as though this is a very, I don't even know how to word it because I don't want to continue to use this word misogyny, but it's like, why are you offended by that? Why, well, not you necessarily, but why are people offended by that? If anything, this is someone's line of work and they're making money.
People are offended because I think people have got a moral obligation to care for others and their society. We spoke about earlier about we want to be united as a society. We want to do things that's good for us as a whole. We see people like Bonnie Blue rise up and we realize that isn't contributing good to society. That's not contributing unity to society. It's actually dividing us like this, for example. It's taken, for decades, women have been they have the choice now to live a life based on their terms. Based on who they are, their qualities, your knowledge, your intellectual capabilities, your strength of character. Bonnie Blue's come and undermined all of that.
No, she hasn't.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I did say like she's not really hurting anyone.
Yeah,
but
she doesn't represent anything. I think the problem, I like what you're saying.
No,
I
but the
understand
thing
what you're
is-
saying.
no, no,
A lot of people agree with your point. A lot of feminists agree with what you're saying. A lot of non-feminists agree with what you're saying. But I think we need to just stop this thing where we're projecting our own views onto other people and making it seem like it's the be all end all and somebody is ending the world because of what somebody else is doing. Because for me, I just feel as though it's so ironic and it's so interesting to see how many people suddenly care about what is right and care about oppression and care about X, Y, and Z. So many bad things are actually happening in the world.
No, but I think that's good when people rise up and care like that because it shows society does care still.
No, it doesn't.
I'd be very
It doesn't.
scared
It shows that
society don't say
society still want to oppress and control women. That's what it shows.
the thing is, I don't think that she's morally being bad, but I'm just saying that I think that this whole idea of polyamory, what I'm trying to say is that maybe it's not sexuality that needs to be liberated, but rather like actual loving relationship. So like when you say, when you have like a polyamorous relationship, can you actually be in love with 4 people at a time? Or like, oh, today I'm in love with her. Yeah, I'll give you the stars and the moon today. Oh, but tomorrow she satisfies my needs here. She satisfies. Or do you need one? You know what I mean?
So Bonnie Blue ain't talking about love. It's pure physical stimulation, lust. Nothing about who you are,
maybe that's what she needs, isn't it? Maybe that's what she needs.
She needs love.
Yeah.
I'm a strong believer in the concept of
I
more.
just want to. I want to make sure my voice is on the mic when I say I don't think that's the case. I don't think so.
You don't think so?
Yeah, but we can go round and round in circles forever and ever. But I think.
Yeah.
No, go on.
Do you think it's possible polyamory for you to be like in love with more than one person, or do you think you need a one?
It's all about what love is.
It depends on you.
Really?
Yeah, I think love is love is your own language.
Mm-hmm. So you can be in love with 3 people at the same time.
I'm sure it's been done before.
But then if you're in love with push that to its logical conclusion, if you're in love with everybody, you're in love with nobody. You know what I mean?
True. I think it's possible to love more than people. I love my sister, I love my mom, I love my friends,
There are different types of love as well.
That's what I'm saying.
Obviously.
Yeah. I think if you had 3 partners, you probably love them for 3 different reasons. But it's all abstractly connected to the single love, but it manifests in different ways.
So you don't believe in the Bonnie and Clyde, Bonnie Blue, Bonnie Blue, and Clyde. The Bonnie Blue and Clyde dream.
I don't even believe in love anyway. So
You told me that.
Yeah. I already established this fact.
No, come on, man.
You believe in love?
No.
Well, I think you can't experience love unless you believe in it.
That's no, not necessarily. I think maybe it was an overarching statement that I made. I think people can love, but my issue is my concept of love is 100%, and I don't believe anything can be 100%. So
it's a
I guess
highly
you can.
idealized love.
Yeah, I think I'm the problem. So it's not even that no one else can have love or whatever. I think I'm the issue in the way that my mind works and in the way that my brain conceptualizes things.
But my favorite ideas comes from Greek ideas is, Cupid. Why does Cupid have a bow and arrow?
Because love it hurts. I've heard
In order to fall in love, you have to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
If you think you're strong, tough, independent, you don't need no one, love isn't going to come for you. Only till Cupid strikes you and you're vulnerable and you feel on the edge of things, that's when you can access love. And I always say the best painting I've ever seen that describes love is The Kiss by Gustav Klimt. And it's a beautiful painting. There's just two people standing here kissing. On the edge down here, there's a cliff. And her foot is at the very edge. And it's showing you that love is this wonderful, divine, beautiful thing. But you're always this close from absolute disaster.
Yeah.
Love is the most vulnerable way of life ever. So much so that I've been in love before. And I've loved someone so much so that the only thought I think of is death. Because I'm saying, I love this person so much. If they died, I don't know what I would do. If I die, I don't know what I would do. That's why love and death in literature are very good relationships. The only way you can feel love truly is when someone death.
I think it's because they're both very extreme.
And
death is the end, and love is
eternity.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? So it's just, I don't know.
Love
and
is
this brings me to an amazing point of Kant's antinomies, where he was saying that. So Kant had a problem where how does something emerge from nothing? Like the two opposites, right?
Yeah.
How does something come from nothing? But I think what someone after him discovered is that maybe this problem maybe the very problem is the answer. So, for example, you have sad music, sad song, pleasure and pain. Love is a disaster.
Isn't that Hegel's thesis and antithesis? If you take two opposites put together, you get a brand new idea.
Kind of like that, but also saying that like these very opposites are actually part of one thing.
Yeah, that's why love and hate are the same thing.
Yep.
Because I always say, and I always say to my students, they can't conceptually ever understand how love and hate is so similar. Because they see love as these emoji love hearts and hate as this violent aggression. But I always say love is love is like this. You know what have you seen Beauty and the Beast before?
Yeah.
You know the rose? Yeah. That's love.
Yes.
But love,
That's
if it's not cared for, loved for, nourished, treasured, it will peel away. It will decay into something that it wasn't. That's when hate comes. So hate can only come when love is not nourished properly. Yeah. That's why you feel such spite and resentment and anger against someone you love who's done you wrong.
But what I was trying to say about the Hegelian point, it's not that two things and they combine to make one thing. It's something else. It's when you hear a sad song, but it's nice. Have that ever happened? I don't know if you listen to music, but have you ever heard
Bryson Tiller.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not that there's two opposites and then they cause.
They are the same thing.
Pleasure in pain. Do you get
It's the intercourse.
Yeah. Okay.
It's pleasure in pain, and isn't that love? Love is like it's not.
It reminds me.
That's actually a very good point.
So I don't want to interrupt you.
No, I wasn't gonna say. I'm just saying that's a very good point. I like that idea.
It reminds me of something in philosophy. I think you've spoken about it before. The sublime. It's like it's so many things. It's overwhelming.
Yeah.
So I think because
sublime.
It's so sublime, using the word in the word, it's like. That's why you can feel so many things, including complete opposites, if that makes sense. So I just, that's a great idea. I don't know, it's something that you can just never really understand, but you can try your best to, if that makes sense.
I think love is about sensitivity, though. You have to be sensitive, naturally sensitive to it.
And in the same way, you have to be sensitive to hate.
Yeah, but I think
in both ways,
absolutely,
you have, and that's why they're exactly the same thing.
I think the opposite of love is
spitting.
Sorry.
No,
I think the opposite of love is not hate. I think the opposite of love is indifference. That's why, like when like a kid goes to his dad or a dad goes to his kid and he says, "You're dead to me."
Yeah,
it's over. Like
it hurts more than if I hate.
Over.
Because if I hate, the
Yeah.
person is
There's
like,
still some
I
attachment.
have to feel a type of way
Yeah,
towards
yeah.
you in order to hate you. I actually have to care about you in order to hate. Because I always say this, like, people can't actually, like, you can't make me annoyed unless I know you. Like, if, like, when, you know, people comment whatever, like,
Yeah,
you're irritating, yeah, but I can't, like, actually
You're
hate
nothing to
you.
me, you're nothing,
The
yeah.
only person I could probably hate are, like, my family members and my close
Yeah.
friends.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, because that's, yeah, absolutely, I agree.
Yeah, which is the sad. And even like love is like, it's usually like love. It's way easier to just have sorry to be brutal, but just have sex. Like just go meet a girl off Tinder or off Hinge or even just wherever. Just these people fulfill your needs. But like when you actually like a girl, it's like every day. It's like, okay, if I lose you, I'll kill myself. Like my whole life is based around you. I think about you. It's like it's not even at this point. It's a nightmare. But at the same time, it's
That ties into there's a book you have to read. It's the Symposium by Plato.
You know, you told me to read that last year,
It's just
and I read
80
it.
pages.
Yep, I read it.
All about love. You read it?
Yes, I did.
What do you think of it?
I thought I wasn't moved.
Was you not?
I wanted to be
I love
moved.
the expression
I wanted
about
to be
love.
moved so much. I wanted to be moved. I'm not gonna lie.
My
to
favorite
you.
line, I'll tell you. Oh, sorry.
No,
I
go on.
interrupt
No,
you.
no, no, it's
I
fine, it's fine,
apologize.
it's fine.
I haven't been on a podcast for a while.
I didn't know. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
My favorite line ever is two ideas in there. It says the problem, and I think it's so telling of the modern day. We in society value appearances, what you look like, not who you are.
Yes.
I think it was one of the characters, some Greek name, right? It starts with E, Examand, something.
I can't even help
He said,
you.
if you fall in love with someone based on who they are, you're going to be disappointed in old age because that beauty ends
It's
up
gone.
fading and all you're left with is who they are.
Yeah.
That's how you get a lot of relationships. They turn bitter in older age because they valued how good looking they were in their youth. Now they're left with what's left or the remnants of a great empire of their looks. But my favorite line by Socrates is when they said to Socrates, so 7 men gave their eloquent speech about love, and Socrates goes, I learned love from a woman. And I think it's so true. There's something like kind of similar to Kant, like an a priori built-in structure into women that is simple. In order to love, you need to see the good in things. And what women are better than men at is they see the good in people. That is how you get women who are with drug dealers, criminals, violent, aggressive, or society destroyers, because they see the good in them. No matter how small it is, a woman gets cheated on, she gets hurt, she gets broken, but why does she stay with him? Because she can still see some good in him. But a man, we look at someone's utility, how useful they are to us, how much can they fulfill my needs. And this divide of the woman seeing the good in someone and men's usefulness is exactly how men have learnt love, because women seeing the good in people has taught men also to see the good in people.
Don't you think that love is like a mixture of both, though?
Absolutely, yeah. And that's why
it
comes together perfectly.
Yeah.
I think that you do make some really good points there, but I think that there is some dangerous rhetoric in that. Like
perhaps.
Yes.
In that some misogynistic figures, they view, at the same time, they view women as this like untouched, angelic figure that's like the all-knowing, you know what I mean? But at the same time, they're also like subversive to men, and that. So I think this over-mystification of women can get out of control a bit.
No, it can. And I think the simple reason is this, is because when we think of I'm a big preacher that if I had to say the most important functioning in our mind is the imagination. That I think that is one of the most neglected aspects of our human nature.
Yep.
Everything begins with the imagination. I always say anxiety is just your imagination out of your control. You can't control it.
Fear.
You're being fed images that you have no control of. My point being, when we imagine things, in our imagination, there's something called the idea, the essence of something. And when we think of the essence of things, it only comes in perfection. If I say to you, imagine a red apple right now, in your head, you imagine a red apple, perfect. You didn't imagine one moldy, flawed, with holes in it. It only comes in perfection. Now, love is the truest of ideas. If I look at someone, okay, and I'm in love with them, I'm in love with, and they're perfection to me. I've idealized them. They're mystical, as you say. I'm in love with the idea of them, because the idea only comes in perfection.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest problems entrepreneurs have, or highly idealistic people, is if they fall in love with the ideal too much, unfortunately, when you bring the ideal into reality, it loses its perfection.
That's all right. So right.
A good example is essays. Students all the time, they have an idea in their head. It's perfect. They can see the idea. Who's ever been in art class? You've got the picture in your head.
Yeah.
The minute you bring it into reality, it loses perfection. And that's where artistry, development, and character is what takes you from that imperfection as close as you can to perfection. The Mona Lisa didn't start off as the Mona Lisa. What was it before? Just sketches.
Yeah.
Da Vinci just saw lines across. But through character, he was able to put this together. So the image, the perfect image he had, it came into reality.
That's a really good point. I'm not gonna lie to you, but I think that when you're actually in love, like I think they did a survey back in the day. There was two famous like actors. One of them had like a birthmark a little bit, and the other one had like she just had, her face was literally perfect. And the one with the birthmark actually was more rated because it's they kind of fall in love with the imperfection. It's the perfect imperfection. You know what I mean?
I get what you're saying. It's like when people have vertigo. It's like a perfect imperfection. I never thought of it like that. A perfect imperfection.
Yeah.
It's quite
you find beauty in things that are just a little bit flawed.
Yeah, no, it's the very flaw that makes. That's the back to the Kant point of the opposites.
Flaw itself is the beauty.
Which gets even more. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's actually nice.
But I was gonna ask you a question about heaven and hell.
Okay, here we go.
Great question.
So if heaven is a place of pure bliss, will people in heaven know that people are suffering in hell? Like
wow, so good.
I love it. Isn't that the question that would you go to hell? Would you go to heaven if all your friends and family are in hell? Have you heard that question?
Is it
before?
really heaven?
I don't see heaven and hell as a place you go to. I think
it's a mental state.
You could argue, to your point earlier, it is a system of control. It's a good way to discipline. You know, when I was a kid, my dad used to tell me, "What? You stole food from the cupboard?
Do you want to go to hell?
You're gonna go to hell." And I'd be like, "Oh, Dad, I'm sorry, I'm not gonna get it." There's a beautiful novel by James Joyce called "A Portrait of an Artist as a Young Man," and it's about his life when he was younger. And he's sitting in the church, and the pastor. Yeah, I do this all the time. He's describing hell so beautifully, like it's disgusting. And in the scene, in the chapter, the boy is petrified, and he goes more into his faith because of the concept of hell. But I say I learned the most about hell through Dante. At the gate of hell, in his epic poem, it goes, "Abandon hope, yea, ye who enter here." Hell is a state of mind for me. If you live with no hope and faith, you're in hell. Okay. That's how I view it. Heaven can only be moments of your life, not life itself. There's some moments in our life where it feels purely bliss, perfection. I was on the beach in Thailand. I was with my cousin. We talk about life and the sunset. We look at each other and we're like, this is heaven, this is bliss. But it ends. But hell can be a state of mind that could be every day. And having a relationship with the concept of heaven in this fashion could alleviate, for a moment, that state of hell. So conceptually, heaven is when you have hope and faith strong in life. That's when you are one foot in heaven.
So I'm just really dwelling on the question. Hypothetically, if heaven and hell were real places, I think it depends. Heaven is a small place. That's what I think. I'm not gonna lie. I think heaven is a small place.
It's a great point.
So that said, I don't think the people in heaven will have a problem with the fact that people are in hell, which is what makes them be in heaven, if that makes sense. So I'm going to try and clarify the point that I'm making. I think in order to make it into heaven, obviously I'm not God, I can't judge, but this is like my hypothetical. In order to make it into heaven, you have to have that element of the decision that has been made is correct. So if you are... like, if you not feel guilty, but if you feel any type of way about the decision that has been made, then you don't necessarily belong in heaven. So I don't know if that evades the question or if it answers.
That's what I was literally going to say. Okay, if it's pure bliss and you know that people are in hell, then that means you'd be happy knowing that they're in hell.
Not necessarily. I think that's a leap. I don't think that means you're happy that they're in hell. You're just
indifferent
in heaven.
Yeah, but you know that they're in hell. But heaven is pure joy. There's no... Well, isn't heaven usually described as pure joy? There's no...
Yeah. So what you're saying is that notion of people being in hell takes away from that purity of the joy.
What I'm trying to say is if you're in a place of pure joy and you know that people are in hell, that means you're fine or even happy knowing that they're in hell.
I feel like there's a missing premise there. I don't think I agree with that line of reasoning. Okay. I'm not sure what it is yet. I'll think about it.
Okay.
And I'll be able to get back to you.
Heaven is just a product of the mind. I think if you used to scratch society again, start from the beginning, the idea of heaven will come back up. Why? Because it relates back to the idea. We think of ideas as perfection. If we used to think about the idea of a society, the perfect society, you get heaven. And when you see like these churches or mosques that are unbelievably beautiful, like I love to I've traveled many places. I've been to the ones across Italy, France, everywhere you can think of. The reason why they made it so beautiful is that when you enter these mosques or churches, it gives you a glimpse of what heaven could be like. It gives you a visual representation. Again, is what we are talking about right now is all Platonism. It's all Platonic ideas right now. And it's so embedded in everything.
I think what I wanted to say, I'm back now, after my thoughts, is I think maybe the issue is that we're focusing too much on hell. Let us think about what heaven is. Hypothetically, what if your concept and your understanding or the notion of hell actually disappears with your arrival in heaven? Let's say we accept the fact that let's say we accept that your argument, which is knowing that people are in hell means it takes away from your joy. What if heaven is a place in which all you know are the good things?
Yeah, so but what I'm trying to say to you is let's speak like conceptually, like pure joy. If it's pure joy and you know that they're in hell, then...
But what I'm saying is, what if you don't know that they're in hell? What if all you know is heaven?
What I'm trying to say is that for one to exist, the other has to exist.
Yeah, I'm not saying that the other doesn't exist. It exists, but not in the knowledge of those who are in heaven. I'm trying to evade the question. That's what I'm trying to do. That's the truth.
My answer is no.
So heaven is not
feel bad.
So heaven. Oh, you wouldn't feel bad.
You
if
wouldn't
you're
feel
in heaven.
bad. So
because
you'd be
it's based
happy
on the
knowing
choices you make.
Yeah,
Okay.
that links to what I was saying earlier. If you're in heaven, then you're in heaven for a reason. You're not going to have a problem with the people who are in hell.
Do you think when kids in my school, when they go into Duke of Edinburgh, do you think they're going, oh, I wish Alfie from Bottom Set was in here. This is so unfair. We get to enjoy these great things and they don't know, because it's choices you make got you there. That's where meritocracy comes in. Because heaven and hell is a very meritocratic system. The good get the benefits. If you ain't good, you don't get benefits.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the case in Christianity though, but I can hold space with that idea. Yeah.
You think that everyone could be forgiven, even like the worst?
Yes, absolutely.
Even the worst of the worst.
Absolutely, yeah.
The rapists, the killers.
Yep.
Yeah.
I agree. You have to.
I do, because sometimes it's about context as well.
You have to.
Like what is also, like a lot of the time these crimes or these bad things or these immoral acts are considered in isolation. This is so crazy coming from me because I'm very much a deontological person. So for me, it's about the action in and of itself as opposed to the consequences. Yeah. But I think context is important. And at the end of the day, I don't know. I think God is omnibenevolent in the way that he can be. So maybe he will take context into consideration.
I would say forgiveness is based on the strength of your character, generally. The more you can forgive, I think kind of ties into how strong of a character you got to be. Hannah Arendt, a very underrated philosopher, said and you need to watch her interviews. She's classy, cigarette,
you've mentioned
voice,
this before actually.
Takes her time.
I've heard about her.
Yeah.
She's
but I don't know what she talks about.
But she says that forgiveness is arguably one of the greatest human inventions in history. Outside of forgiveness existed way before religion did. Think about human beings. We've been around for 50,000 years, arguably. Some numbers change every year, I think. Religion's only been around for 2,000 years. Systematized or monotheistic religion.
Yeah.
And Hannah Arendt said the hardest thing a human being can do is act. That's why we have cowards, people who don't act. Nietzsche once said men put more action into inaction. So to act as a human being is very difficult. Why? Because we know once we act, we can't take back.
Yeah.
It's set in stone. It's done. The dice is cast. But forgiveness is the only thing we as human beings have invented that can alleviate you from your actions. If you do me dirty, you may feel guilty. But if I never forgive you for it, you're trapped by the confines of your action. But forgiveness
releases you. That's nice.
Yeah. No, that's a really good point. Do you have any last?
I think I don't want to say I loved it. I loved this conversation. This was so good. It was so good to see you again, and it was so good to have this conversation because often I feel like when I'm speaking, I don't know what a contradicting point would be. So all of the points that you brought up were great, and I loved it. So yeah, I'm just really happy I had this conversation.
Of all the points that we talked about, I did not think Bonnie Blue would be the most controversial.
Spirit of the times, isn't it?
Yeah.
What do you guys think about Greta Thunberg and the recent events?
Do you want to start?
You go first. I feel like I've been talking so much.
No, that's okay. I think she's a hero. Like she is an amazing person, and I want everybody to try and be like her. And the reason why I'm so moved by what she has done is I think she's the first person that I have like caught whiff of or caught wind of who has actually done something. A lot of people have been talking about what is happening in Palestine. A lot of people have been talking about what's happening in Congo. But the thing that people revert to is boycotting. And I made a video and you were like, And in that I said, propaganda I'm not falling for, and I said boycotting in quotation marks. I think there's a problem with boycotting in that it gives people a sense of comfort. You are comfortable doing nothing because you're boycotting. Boycotting a shop that you never used to go to. I don't go to Starbucks. Boycotting a shop that you like, and it's so interesting because you're gonna boycott Starbucks, you're not gonna go to McDonald's, but you have an iPhone. I'm confused.
Pay tax to the UK.
Like how far? exactly. Like how far can boycotting go? Don't get me wrong. It's not that boycotting doesn't work. It's worked before. It worked. The Bristol boycotts in the UK. It works with the boycotts it begins with an M. The Montgomery bus boycotts, and it's like that's on a small scale. We have to be for real, guys. This is a global issue. Boycotting McDonald's is not doing as much as you think. That's my only thing. So when I saw what Greta Thunberg did, I'm just hoping that a lot of people can really take that and hold space with it. Yeah.
I think to go to your point about boycotting, you're right. I think there's elements of what you said is right.
Yeah.
I think what makes the Palestinian struggle so heartbreaking to watch is we can't do nothing.
Yeah.
It's completely out of our control. This is
In what
purely
sense?
down to the elite's control. And that's what makes us so hurtful, because we have strong compassion, but we can't deliver on our compassion.
I don't agree.
So boycotting is one way of expressing your compassion. Do I boycott? I do it all the time.
Yeah.
Do I have an iPhone? Do I pay taxes? Yes. But my intentions are still good.
Yes.
Because I'm a principled man. I believe free Palestine and for the people.
Yes.
But Greta Thunberg, what a woman. Genuinely. This woman she's not even a girl anymore. She's a woman.
Yeah.
I always say, I read it earlier, she's a historical figure already done. One of the best things she said is safety is visibility. Visibility is safety. So when you see people posting on TikTok and Instagram, Palestinian post, and people say, oh, well, why you just post it on your story? That's mean. Visibility is safety. The more people see it, the more we can create a protection bubble. Think about the power of the people over the last 2 years of Palestine. How many governments have changed their course on the issue? Spain, Italy, France, the UK. So the ones who started the conflict in the first bloody place are changing direction now.
Yeah.
Trump, we'll see what he does, but rumors of changing direction. That's the pressure of the people. One of the reasons why they wanted to ban TikTok in the first place is because Generation Z has a huge relationship with the Palestinian people. You get rid of TikTok, you can't express Palestinians. Greta Thunberg is a woman. When we speak about earlier, we spoke about Bonnie Blue. Obviously, it's actually. I have to be honest with you. I fell for a trap that I wish I consciously be avoid. We should speak about the good of people, not the ones that cause controversy.
Yeah.
Greta Thunberg is a great example of action.
Yes.
That girl needs to be protected at all costs, because what she's doing is, honestly,
that even is interesting.
Makes me feel like
I mean,
I could do more. She's amazing.
I'm interested in what you said because somebody. Did you want to say something?
should I go first or you? Nah, you can
I
just
think you can go.
Just go.
It's very quickly. Someone made a video. Her name is Basayo Twins, and she made a video and she said it had to be Greta Thunberg, and the reason why is because she's a white woman. And I think that's very interesting. I think we also need to always take into account intersectionality and the different parts that social identity play. Because the truth is, I think I strongly agree with what she said in that video. In that, if it was any other person of any other race, it's very likely that nobody would have cared as much. And I'm very happy that she did what she can with the power that she holds to do what she did. So yeah, do you not agree?
Can I just?
Go on.
I think that even more than her being a white woman is that the fact that she's like a short little autistic, like she has autism girl.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
She's put all these Arab leaders to shame, all these scholars,
Absolutely.
even me. She's put even me to shame, who just comes and yaps on about. Like she's so small. She's so like physically like small and weak, but she's done the most bravest
caused
thing.
so
She's
much change as well. Yeah. 100%.
I don't think.
I'm not undermining what she did.
No,
by
of
the way.
course, but I think that's when critical race theory sometimes goes one step too far.
Okay.
Greta Thunberg, she isn't there representing white women. She would hate that we're even talking about her race. She would hate we talk about her gender. She was also focused solely on the Palestinian issue. So when these TikTokers talk about there's a white woman, it's taking us away from what she's fighting for.
I think I understand what you mean 100%. You're right, it does, but we cannot ignore that that's the case. We cannot ignore that race is a very important thing. We cannot ignore the fact that gender is a very important thing. I'm not taking away from what she's doing. I'm not saying let's focus on something else. I'm just saying it's very interesting. I'm not saying, genuinely, I'm not trying to put a different fight in front of the fight or the plight for the Palestinians. What I'm saying is she did what she can with her power. Other people should do that too. That's what I'm saying.
Yep. And she's literally just a small little girl. And
exactly.
She did
so
all that.
Everybody else can, which is what I also wanted to say to your other point, which is we can't do anything. It's about the elite. I don't think I entirely agree with that. I think we can definitely band together as a people and do something.
And even
that's what boycotting does.
And
100%. However, I think it's a cop out. I think it's a cop-out for people who don't want to go and stand in the streets and really be activists.
I even think that these people who went on the boat, after she went on the boat, they were like, let's send 1,000 boats. Let's send 2,000 boats.
I was thinking that as well. I was thinking, what would they do if they send another 1,000?
Absolutely.
I think this is the time where we should actually genuinely have like real conversations about like making
doing things. Doing things.
Maybe if it's occupying, government buildings, or this might get me arrested, or going into like big flotillas. It's time to actually make.
The best thing we can do for the Palestinian cause is educating the youth.
Yes.
Because soon the 12-year-olds today will be 22-year-olds tomorrow.
Yep.
I say it's a waste of effort, everyone on TikTok and Instagram, to make Palestinian videos trying to convince adults, 40-year-olds, 50-year-olds. Forget them. They'll be gone in 10, 20, 30 years.
Focus on the youth.
The youth are the ones who have to be educated right. I teach my students at Philosophy Club on Thursdays and Tuesdays. The whole issue. I teach them the ideology.
Yeah.
I teach them the history of Palestine and Israel. I don't even say it's evil or bad. They say it's evil.
Come to the conclusion. Exactly.
I say, guys, I've showed you the history.
What do you think?
I want you to give me a nice little paragraph about what your opinion is. You read all of it. Injustice, evil. Injustice, evil.
Yeah.
Educating the youth.
And I promise you, she's more of a Muslim than any fake scholar, any fake individual. I'm not going to bring
sublime.
names.
That's what she is.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She's sublime. There's no words to describe. Honestly, you said it perfectly earlier. She puts me to shame.
Yeah.
Like, she's so much, even I start thinking, maybe I could go for a year, like go Palestine and help out on that. But first thing I thought of, sitting there, missiles, forget that.
Exactly.
This woman said no.
No, she risked her life. She straight up risked her. I mean, I'm pretty sure she got drone attacked. One of the boats got
in
attacked.
Malta, isn't it? Yeah.
Like, she literally did risk her actual life. She could have actually died.
There's nothing greater than the Palestinian people, I'm telling you. There's nothing greater than them. They're the heroes of our time. And I know you can say Congo and other issues. The Palestinian issue is so much more different to other issues because it isn't something where a lot of issues abroad might be internal conflict within borders. This is not just violence. This is ideological violence.
It's universality.
This is the attempt to completely wipe out people in front of your faces on social media.
But I think even the Congo problems, all the problems, they're all part of one universal cause.
Genocide is happening in a lot of places.
But is the people who trying to commit genocide, the West, who after World War II stood there, said this will never happen again on our state. We're going to develop the League of Nations, NATO, all these global corporations or countries coming together to stop this stuff. And this stuff is still happening.
Yep.
So it's even worse on America's behalf, especially when they have the symbol of we are the defenders of democracy. We are the defenders of national sovereignty.
I don't really believe in not oppression Olympics, but who has it worse Olympics. I think everybody's...
I completely agree.
Everyone struggles a struggle, you know what I mean? So it's just like...
I completely agree with you.
There's a lot that can be said.
Because to do that, you undermine both parties.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, but even Congo before Palestine, because I know a lot. I've grew up with Palestinians and that, like a lot. Like Palestine before wasn't like Congo really is a nightmare. Like even like obviously now it's not as bad as Palestine, but Palestine they used to live fine before. Like it was still bad.
Like this is what I'm saying, which is why I can't lie. Race and nationality does have it does have a position to play in it. Why? Because it's very interesting because I don't know how to word it, but the British are involved and the Americans are involved, and suddenly the whole world, all eyes on Palestine. Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying that this should not be the case, don't get me wrong, but I just think the things that we're saying
I don't
not.
I don't really agree, because
No,
like
go
even
on.
Palestinians were like having murals of George Floyd on the apartheid wall. Like it's on the apartheid wall. Like it's one universal movement.
Malcolm X went to visit.
Oh my gosh, that's another thing I wanted to talk about, you know. It's too late now. But
No, but I do get you. There is definitely some double
Yeah.
standards.
There's a
sometimes.
Z word
Yeah.
we're ignoring here. Zionism.
Yeah.
Zionism is it's something. God,
Last point.
I've read so many different.
Yeah, it's a
There's
lot.
so many things I could. I don't know how much
2
time we
hours
have
wasn't
left in it.
enough. Like,
Yeah, guys, it's been the Revolutionary Pod with Riyad and Eden. Yeah, well.
bye guys.